In the city of Cyprus in 300 BC, there lived a very wealthy trader called Zeno. While on a voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus, his boat sank along with all of his cargo. Because of that single event, an event entirely out of Zeno's or anyone's control, this very wealthy man suddenly became poor in an instant. Imagine you were Zeno. How would you react to your entire life's work getting flushed down the drain by the sheer force of nature? What is the proper reaction? Would you be angry? Sad? Would you feel life has cheated you? For most of us, these would all be normal reactions, but not for Zeno, the father of Stoicism. One small change lasts an eternity, and one small reframing of your mindset can cascade into larger and more impactful changes later down the line. The core of Stoicism is the very definition of acceptance and indifference. After reading the works of Socrates and other great philosophers, Zeno created and taught Stoicism. According to Zeno, although we don't have much control over what happens to us, we do have control over how it affects us, and we must use this control to great effect. Rather than crying over spilled milk, or, in this case, drowned goods, Zeno focused on maintaining his composure, remaining calm and neutral despite his predicament. Today, people inadvertently view Stoics as those who cannot be broken, people who don't often linger in emotional extremes, going through fits of rage or bouts of anxiety. But the original idea behind Stoicism was much more than that. Rather than just describing people as unemotional, Stoicism was a way to view, describe, and understand the world. It was a way of life, and that way of life has lasted for centuries. Stoic philosophy can be applied to situations today in the same way it was applied thousands of years ago, and its benefits are just as impactful. Stoicism allows us to process negative emotions from negative experiences and turn them into thoughts that give us a unique perspective on the world. Perspective is everything, and everyone in the world has different experiences and, thus, different perspectives on things. Since the Stoics gathered, discussed, and taught philosophy in public places, their philosophy became widely known. They believed that Stoic principles could greatly benefit anyone and everyone, so it didn't make sense for them to hide that knowledge behind the four walls of a school or the palace courtyards. As a result, everyone, from slaves to emperors, could learn and become Stoics, and many did. Some of the world's most notable Stoics include Epictetus, whose name translates to acquired, since he was once a slave, Seneca, a renowned statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men to have ever lived. The early Stoics practiced what they preached, avoiding all forms of segregation and leading the fight against inequality. They even invented the word cosmopolitan, which literally means citizen of the world. Today, when we hear that word, we think of cities like New York, Toronto, Dubai, and London because of their diversity. This was the type of unity and togetherness that the Stoics preached. At the time of Stoicism's foundation, women weren't allowed to pursue philosophy, but Stoics disagreed with this completely. Musonius Rufus, Epictetus's teacher, once said, "It is not men alone who possess eagerness and a natural inclination towards virtue, but women also. Women are pleased no less than men by noble and just deeds, and reject the opposite of such actions. Since that is so, why is it appropriate for men to seek out and examine how they might live well, that is, to practice philosophy, but not women? Even at a time when it wasn't popular, women were allowed to freely learn about Stoicism and become Stoics themselves." Why do so many people adopt Stoicism? In a world full of unexpected turns of events, our emotions often get in the way. In reality, we don't get sad simply because bad things happen to us. We get sad because unexpected bad things happen to us. Take rain, for example. It helps water our plants, provides water for livestock, and keeps the temperature cool and humid. But when a dark cloud catches you outside without an umbrella, it's never a good experience. So why don't we start crying when it starts to rain? It's because, Although the situation is bad, we've learned to expect rain. It's unavoidable. We can't control the weather. It may suck, but the rain passes, and the light returns. Stoicism teaches us that, in the same way, we should expect that everything bad that can happen will happen. Picture the worst outcome and be content knowing it could happen. One Stoic exercise is known as voluntary discomfort, an exercise aimed at increasing gratitude. Sleep on the floor of your kitchen. Take cold showers when you normally take hot ones. Eat nothing but potatoes for a few days. Exercises like these help you understand that no matter how hard things get, you'll survive and potentially thrive if your mindset is right. By enduring discomfort, we prepare ourselves mentally for future misfortunes. In today's world, where advertisements constantly tell us that we need the next best thing, a certain look, or a specific salary to be happy, this message is more important than ever. The dichotomy of control. We should focus on improving ourselves, for ourselves. Attaching external hopes to our actions almost always leads to disappointment. Many people try to fill this emptiness with external things, blowing money on a fancy car, buying a house, or even starting a family, not for their intrinsic value, but for their external validation. Stoicism teaches that if you approach life this way, you place your happiness in the hands of external forces, forces that can fail. Cars break down, natural disasters destroy cities, and divorce rates climb every year. As Seneca once wrote, "Learning to live with less will create space in your life for the things that truly matter. Instead, we must place our happiness on our intrinsic value as humans, not on what we own. We must keep a cool head regardless of what life throws at us, because, at the end of the day, we don't control most things that happen to us, but we do control how we react." This is the dichotomy of control, the most important principle in Stoic philosophy. In the words of Epictetus, the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. The 4 virtues of Stoicism. There are 4 main virtues in Stoicism. Wisdom, the ability to distinguish between what is internal and external, and to choose our reactions wisely. As Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Courage. 2 words, persist and resist. Temperance, moderation in all things. The Stoics believed that true wealth was simply having what is essential and what is enough. Justice, the most important virtue. It teaches that no one should harm another because we were all born to help each other. Stoicism in modern times. Stoicism is at the core of modern therapeutic practices like rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT, and logotherapy. REBT helps patients identify and challenge negative thought patterns. Logotherapy is based on the Stoic idea that humans are driven by purpose. Even in the darkest moments, we can find meaning and happiness by discovering our purpose. Ultimately, Stoicism helps us navigate past and present storms into calmer waters. And if our ship sinks and we all drown, we can take peace in knowing we lived a good life, albeit not as long as we had hoped. Because remember, everything has an end.